In the divine realms, the story unfolds with a celestial conversation between Lord Shiva, the cosmic destroyer and creator, and his divine consort, goddess Parvati. Ages ago, Shiva had made a solemn vow to the revered sage Sri Kalhasti, whose sacrifice had moved the deity to promise the establishment of a sacred Vayu Linga, a divine emblem of the wind god, at a hallowed site. This linga was destined to become a revered pilgrimage spot, worshipped by countless devotees across generations. Its divine energy would transform the minds and hearts of humanity, ushering in an era of profound wisdom and spiritual awakening. However, as time passed, Parvati, with a hint of frustration in her divine voice, reminds Shiva that this sacred promise remains unfulfilled. The world has yet to witness the glory of the Vayu Linga, and its transformative power remains dormant. Shiva, calm and omniscient, reassures her that the wheels of destiny are already in motion. A new devotee, Thina, has taken birth in the mortal realm, destined to fulfill this ancient vow. Thina, Shiva reveals, will not only establish the temple of the Vayu Linga but also spread its divine wisdom, illuminating the path for countless souls. The narrative descends to the mortal world, introducing Thina, a young man of extraordinary courage and strength, even in his childhood. Born into a tribe steeped in tradition, Thina stands out as the most powerful among his peers, his presence commanding respect and awe. However, his early years are marred by tragedy. His tribe, gripped by fear of a deadly plague ravaging their community, believes that only the sacrifice of a pure soul can appease their goddess and save them from doom. In a heart-wrenching act, they choose Thina's closest friend as the sacrificial offering. The loss devastates Thina, who is already grieving the death of his mother. The pain of losing those he loves shatters his faith in the divine. He begins to question the very existence of gods, unable to comprehend why a deity would demand the blood of his loved ones. This trauma plants the seeds of rebellion in Thina's heart, setting him on a path of defiance against the tribe's sacrificial rituals, which he views as cruel and senseless. Thina's father, the wise and respected chieftain of the tribe, plays a pivotal role in his son's life. Unlike the rigid traditionalists around him, he never imposes his beliefs or the tribe's rituals on Thina. Instead, he grants his son the freedom to carve his own path, fostering Thina's independent spirit. As years pass, Thina grows into a formidable man of 25, his physical prowess matched only by his unyielding resolve. His childhood trauma has solidified his rejection of all gods, and he vows never to allow another sacrifice to take place. Despite his lack of faith, Thina becomes a protector of his people, always ready to shield them from danger. His selflessness and bravery earn him the love and admiration of the tribe, who see him as a beacon of hope in troubled times. One fateful day while hunting in the dense forest, Thina's life takes a new turn. He encounters Nimli, a radiant young woman engrossed in worship at a Shiva Linga. Her devotion to Lord Shiva is palpable, her eyes glowing with spiritual fervor. Thina, struck by her beauty and grace, feels an instant connection. With his striking white eyes and open-hearted demeanor, he approaches her, his charm tinged with the boldness of a warrior. Nimli, however, finds his forwardness strange and retreats to her tribe, leaving Thina smitten but undeterred. Nimli hails from a matriarchal tribe where women hold sway, and she is the daughter of the tribe's powerful queen. Unlike her mother, whose life revolves around governance, warfare and political strategy, Nimli's heart is devoted to spiritual pursuits. She dreams daily of the Vayu Linga, a sacred relic she has never seen, guarded zealously by the Agastya lineage under the leadership of the prideful priest Mahadev Shastri. Mahadev Shastri is a man consumed by his sense of superiority. He believes that only his lineage, chosen by divine providence, is pure enough to worship the Vayu Linga. In his eyes, the rest of the world is tainted, unworthy even to lay eyes on the sacred relic. His arrogance ensures that no outsider is allowed to approach the linga, as he guards it with fanatical devotion, convinced that he alone is the truest devotee of Shiva. Meanwhile, Thina's life takes a darker turn when he encounters a group of menacing strangers in the forest. They inquire about the location of the Vayu Linga, their intentions clearly sinister. Naive yet fearless, Thina points them toward the linga, unaware of the consequences. The path to the Vayu Linga requires crossing the territories of 5 tribes, a journey fraught with danger. As the strangers proceed, they come across a group of women and attempt to assault them. Thina, alerted by the sudden flight of birds, a sign of disturbance in the forest, rushes to the scene. With unmatched strength and skill, he single-handedly defeats all 25 attackers, proving his prowess as a warrior. One of the dying men reveals a chilling truth. Their leader, Kalmuck, commands an army of millions and will now come for the Vayu Linga, intent on annihilating the tribes and seizing its divine power. Kalmuck, the story's formidable antagonist, is a warlord driven by ambition and greed. He seeks the Vayu Linga to harness its mystical energy, believing it will make his tribe invincible. Enraged by the death of his brother at Thinna's hands, Kalmuck mobilizes his vast army, setting out to conquer the tribes and claim the Linga. Thinna, realizing the gravity of the threat, warns the 5 tribes of the impending danger. He urges them to unite against Kalmucka's forces, but the tribes, long divided by rivalry and mistrust, are reluctant to join forces. Thinna's father, ever the voice of reason, advises his son not to underestimate the enemy and stresses the importance of unity. To determine a leader for the united tribes, a voting competition is held between Thinna and a prince from another tribe. Thinna's reputation as a protector earns him the support of 3 tribes, securing his position as their leader in the upcoming battle. As preparations for war intensify, Thinna's heart is distracted by his growing love for Nimli. Despite her initial wariness, Nimli begins to see the goodness in Thinna. His courage, his kindness, and his unwavering commitment to his people. Their bond deepens and a tender love story unfolds amidst the looming threat of war. However, complications arise from within Thinna's tribe. A cunning woman who manipulates the tribe by invoking fear of the goddess and orchestrating sacrifices, schemes to marry her daughter, Vaishali, to Thinna. Her ambition is to gain control over all 5 tribes through this alliance, as Thinna is poised to lead them in the future. Unbeknownst to her, Vaishali loves another man, and the manipulative mother fabricates a sacrificial ritual to eliminate him, ensuring her daughter's path to Thinna remains clear. When Thinna learns of this planned sacrifice, he is consumed by memories of his childhood friend's death and resolves to stop it. Storming into the ritual, Thinna denounces the goddess, declaring her statue to be nothing more than stone. He exposes the manipulative woman's motives, accusing her of using fear to control the tribe. His words, though rooted in truth, are seen as blasphemous, and the tribe's people, deeply rooted in their traditions, are outraged. The situation escalates when Nimli's mother, the queen of her tribe, arranges Nimli's marriage to another prince, further complicating Thinna's life. In a heated confrontation, Thinna defeats the prince in combat but spares his life. When the prince speaks ill of Nimli, Thinna's rage nearly drives him to kill, but he restrains himself. This incident further alienates the tribes, who refuse to follow a leader they now see as disrespectful to their beliefs. In a heart-wrenching decision, Thinna's father, bound by his duty to the tribe, banishes his son, stripping him of his leadership and exiling him from the community. At this juncture, Parvati, observing from the divine realm, questions Shiva. How can Thinna, who has rejected gods and ancestors, become the great devotee destined to fulfill Shiva's promise? Shiva, with infinite wisdom, reveals Thinna's past life as Arjuna, the legendary warrior of the Dwapar Yuga. In that life, Arjuna performed intense penance to gain divine weapons from Shiva. After a fierce battle, Shiva defeated Arjuna, revealing his divine form and granting him the boon of celestial weapons. However, Arjuna's deeper desire was moksha, liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Shiva promised that in a future birth, Arjuna would need only to call his name with a pure heart to attain this ultimate freedom. Thinna, Shiva explains, is Arjuna reborn, yet to awaken to his past life or fulfill his divine destiny. Defiant yet heartbroken, Thinna finds solace in Nimli, who, inspired by her love for him and her faith in Shiva, defies her mother's wishes and joins him. The two marry in a simple ceremony near Thinna's mother's grave, choosing to live apart from the tribes, forging a life of their own. Meanwhile, Kalmucka's army descends upon the tribes, catching them unprepared. The tribes suffer devastating losses, and Thinna's father sacrifices himself to ensure their escape across the Satu River bridge, which they destroyed to slow Kalmucka's advance. In a vivid dream, Thinna's father appears to him, urging him to stay true to his path of righteousness. He confesses that he too questioned some of the tribe's rituals but lacked the courage to challenge them. Thinna, he says, is different, his path is true and he must remain steadfast. Fueled by grief and determination, Thinna vows to defeat Kalmuck before performing his father's last rites. Rallying the tribes, he leads them into a fierce battle against Kalmucka's millions. With unparalleled strength, Thinna single-handedly slays Kalmuck, turning the tide of the war and securing victory. The tribes, in awe of his heroism, urge him to become their chieftain, but Thinna, honoring his father's final decision, chooses to remain apart, living a life of solitude with Nimli. Time passes and the festival of Mahashivaratri arrives. Nimli, ever devoted, prepares kheer as an offering for Shiva while observing a fast. Thinna, still skeptical of rituals, grows hungry and attempts to eat the sacred offering, much to Nimli's dismay. She insists that he fast and worship Shiva, warning that nothing will satisfy his hunger without divine blessing. Defiant, Thinna challenges Shiva's power, storming into the forest to hunt and prove he needs no divine intervention. Shiva, observing from the heavens, is saddened by Thinna's defiance. He decrees that if Thinna does not call his name, he will never attain moksha. To guide him, Shiva sends Rudra, a divine emissary, to earth. Rudra first confronts Mahadev Shastri, rebuking him for his arrogance in guarding the Vayu Linga. He reminds Shastri that devotion predates scriptures and that no one can claim exclusive rights to worship. The offerings Shastri deems pure, water, cloth, milk, are all part of the natural world touched by creatures and elements. No one, Rudra declares, can declare another's worship impure. Next, Rudra visits Nimli, who is engrossed in worship while Thinna goes hungry. He reminds her that a wife, as the embodiment of Lakshmi and Annapurna, must ensure her family's well-being. True devotion, he says, lies in care for others, not in rigid rituals. Finally, Rudra approaches Thinna, who has spent the day hunting without success, his hunger growing. Provoking him, Rudra challenges Thinna to call Shiva's name, suggesting it might calm his inner turmoil. When Thinna refuses, a fierce battle ensues. Rudra, unyielding, creates a linga and forces Thinna to worship it, but Thinna remains defiant, his heart still closed to faith. Meanwhile, the prince who sought Nimli's hand recovers from his injuries and, consumed by jealousy, pursues her. He attacks Nimli in Thinna's absence, beating a drum Thinna had crafted as a signal for her. The spider ensnares the prince, the snake devours him, and the elephant carries Nimli to safety. When Thinna arrives, he finds only traces of these creatures: elephant tracks, a snake's shed skin, and a spider's web. Desperate, he searches the forest but cannot find Nimli. Coincidentally, Thinna arrives at the Vayu Linga where Rudra reappears. Urging him to call Shiva's name for Nimli's safety, Rudra appeals to Thinna's love for his wife. Reluctantly, Thinna complies, and the elephant returns Nimli unharmed. Overwhelmed by this miracle, Thinna's skepticism begins to waver. He attempts to carry the Vayu Linga closer to home for Nimli's worship, and upon touching it, he experiences Shiva's divine presence, a profound sense of peace washing over him. From that moment, Thinna sees Shiva in all things, his heart transformed into that of a devoted follower. He begins worshipping Shiva with childlike fervor, his faith now unshakable. However, this newfound devotion brings conflict. Mahadev Shastri catches Thinna offering meat to the Vayu Linga, an act of pure devotion in Thinna's eyes, as meat is his most precious offering. Outraged, Shastri deems it sacrilege and rallies the tribesmen to capture and punish Thinna. Though Thinna could easily overpower them, his heart, calmed by Shiva's grace, feels no anger. As the tribesmen beat him, the Vayu Linga miraculously weeps tears, then blood. In a supreme act of devotion, Thinna sacrifices his own eyes, placing them on the linga to console it. This selfless act stuns everyone, including Shastri, who realizes Thinna is the greatest devotee of the era. Shiva himself descends, restoring Thinna's eyes and revealing his past as Arjuna. He recounts Arjuna's penance and his promise of moksha, now fulfilled through Thinna's pure-hearted devotion. Shiva grants Thinna liberation, naming him Namba, a title of reverence. From that day, devotees worship Namba alongside the Vayu Linga, and the sacred site becomes a beacon of spiritual awakening, fulfilling Shiva's ancient promise. The saga concludes with a triumphant and divine resolution, a testament to faith, sacrifice, and the transformative power of devotion.